is Brat summer is officially over. It's spooky season.
Yeah. We get Brat summer into what fall? What would the today is the autumn equinox.
Oh, that's
Like
true.
today,
Hey, look at that.
Today is officially the first day of fall, so
Yeah.
it officially is the end of Brat summer.
I didn't even think of that when I said that. But sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Forlorn fall. I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be alliterative because Brat summer is.
I mean, Brat isn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking like, what's going to be the new definitive album of the fall, and I think it might still be Brat.
Yeah, probably. Or Chapel Roan, which has been out for
just slipping. Yeah, coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not getting the chaperone thing, but I will say I am a fan of Charlie now.
Of Charlie? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I gave Brat a try, and there's some fucking bangers on that album. And I've actually went back and like I'm listening through her discography. Her first 2 albums are really solid, actually.
Interesting. Well, I've only listened to it tangentially through other people, so I've never actually sat down with like headphones on and like listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea.
I
He's
pretty
British,
much only
right?
hear it when I'm in the car with Allie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I like listen to a lot of Chapel Roan, was if I was ever in the car with Chloe.
Mm. Yeah, I decided to give it a listen because Fantano gave it a 10 out of 10.
Really?
And he hands those out pretty rarely. And I haven't listened to all of his 10 out of 10 albums, but every once in a while I will. Like I think his first one was for Death Grips, and that kind of got me into Death Grips, was listening to The Money Store. He gave it 10 out of 10. That album fucking rules. And then, yeah, this one he gave it 10, and I was like, well, I'm always interested in like good pop stars. Like I know a lot of pop music like isn't for me, and he thinks he's shut in. Oh, somebody's opening the door for him, I think. Maybe.
That's
he just realized he can get through the door.
This is always what happens. Is like cats are naturally like anti-podcast animals. They hate it.
Yeah.
They can tell somehow. Like you turn on your phantom power on your like recording shit, and it emits a frequency that only cats can hear.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, don't do it. Don't make another podcast. We don't need more of these in the world. Stop.
They're wiser than we are.
Yeah. And they're right. They are right to say it.
Yeah.
But they're small and I can pick them up, so I will continue to make podcasts.
Yeah, and just throw them outside and close the door.
Just like, nah.
Same reason you don't have to listen to children. If you can throw them, you don't have to care.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good rule.
That's okay. That was basically the end of it. I gave it a shot because of that, and I like it a lot. Yeah, True Romance, her first album, really good, and then her second one, Sucker, is pretty good too, and then Brat is solid as well. So also spooky season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, we can.
It's begun. I've watched a couple spooky things leading up to this. A couple, as in one, I guess.
Other than what we had to watch for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like last weekend we watched the first Beetlejuice, and that kind of set the. I was like, all right, it's begun. It's happening now.
You mean it's showtime?
It's showtime.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Burton's vibe is like that's the perfect like October lead-in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like family friendly, but it like gets you in that headspace or whatever.
Yeah.
Good way. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to ThereWillBeDuds. This is episode 160, and I am your co-host TJ, and with me, as always,
I am Nick, and You heard him before. It's spooky season, so he's back. Our resident spooky movie double feature enjoyer, Chris, is back with us on the podcast. Hello, Chris.
Hello. The double feature creature has returned.
Yes.
Yeah. Double feature. Yeah. With, 2 more movies. What do you want to start with? I'll let you decide because I couldn't really,
I want to start with Lake Mungo because the guy who wrote and directed it, unless I'm mistaken, was one of the producers for Late Night with the Devil. That's kind of why I picked them together.
I wondered
really?
if you had that, or if that was just a weird
I did not catch that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's do Lake Mungo. But yeah, that's crazy because the dude has like 3 movies to his credit, and one of them is Lake Mungo, and one of them is Late Night with the Devil. Which, yeah, just wild shit. Okay, all right. So, first movie, as you said, is Lake Mungo from 2008, directed by Joel Anderson. It is a horror mockumentary that is about this girl who disappears while swimming at a lake with her family, and then her body is found later. She's dead. She's not just disappeared. And then the family starts experiencing spooky, haunting things around their house, and they think that her ghost may be haunting them, or something else may be afoot. But yeah, it's all done in presented as like a documentary of something like a true crime thing that actually happened. And yeah, it's a cult classic, I would say. I had actually seen this one before. I saw this one a few years ago because I know it's like pretty well known.
Yeah, I had actually seen a lot of the imagery from this movie before actually seeing the movie. There's a couple very famous, I guess, some of the scares or like images, like the image of the family standing outside of the house, and you can see the apparition of Alice in the window, or the apparition that she sees at the titular Lake Mungo. I'd seen that image before, just in like YouTube thumbnails, because this is like one of those movies that like a lot of people will just like watch this movie and then they'll do like go to YouTube, Lake Mungo ending explained. This is like a big movie for that like demo on YouTube.
Yeah, it definitely felt very like precursor to like sorry, I just messed myself up because I was trying to Google search Late Night with the Devil, and I typed Late Night with the Mungo because that's the weird like brain thing where my thoughts can't differentiate from my speech. Precursor to like YouTube like creepypasta and like analog horror type stuff, which I realized is like kind of similar to Late Night with the Devil too. Both also with I think that's kind of your theme so far, Chris, with like the Outwaters, and a little less, well, it's not found footage, but like Skinamarink. It's all kind of analog horror adjacent, and it's all found footage adjacent. And yeah, like that picture that you said of like the family at the end. I'm sure that somebody has like used that in their vague like number 15, the sort of like horror spooky countdowns, like this family took this photograph after their daughter died, and and pretend like it's not from a movie or whatever.
Watch Mojo got a ton of mileage out of Lake Mungo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, that channel might be how I first heard of the movie, because it was either something on YouTube or some horror website where it's like about horror movies that were kind of like well received by those who did watch it, but kind of went under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm assuming you've seen this before, Chris.
Yeah, I saw it the first time a couple years ago, and I didn't know what to expect because it's more of a movie about grief than like a horror movie. Because I would say there's only one actual scare, and even that, like, you see it coming.
I'd say like traditional scare, but it does a good job of it very like building tension. So even though like and I'm glad that it doesn't for the most part, because it could go like the cheap route and like be more scary, but it does try to. If it was like jump scare, or like they did it in a more traditional way, it wouldn't feel like a documentary, right?
Yeah, it doesn't blow its load in the first act.
Yeah, exactly. But you'll get scenes of like the dad talking about like going into her room at night or something like that, and it's just like they'll often do like when there's people doing voiceover, they'll do like little slow like B-roll shots of like the house, and like there's nothing there, it's just like kind of camera going through the house and the voiceover, but like it still works. It's still kind of like effective and creepy. It makes you uneasy, if not like outright horror.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching this for this, I was watching it in my office, like on my computer late at night, and I had both headphones on, and just like even just being in front of the screen with my headphones on, every time there was like any footage shown where you see her in the footage, like the hairs on the back of my neck would raise, and I was just like, just kind of looking over my shoulder. It was very effective to me. But I guess we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I guess Chris, what was it that made you bring this in?
Well, again, I wanted to do it as a double feature, and since there was the connection between the writer for this and the director for Late Night with the Devil, it's like, it works. Plus, I've seen it before, so I can watch it, take some quick notes, but I know I'm not going to miss anything, so I know what to expect. It's not like watching something for the first time and having to constantly rewind. But I do love how the mockumentary style, because at face value, it seems like something you would see on like a news or like a 60-minute special or like even a Netflix show.
Yeah,
this is like an episode of the First 48 that my dad would record off of like A&E.
Especially when you get to like the roughly halfway mark, maybe, where you find out that all the footage that you'd seen and the pictures were manufactured by the son. And then there's a period in the movie where it's like, oh, everything that was supernatural can be explained. It was just the kid doing this because he, wanted his parents to like believe that they hadn't lost their daughter or whatever.
Or that was his own way of expressing the grief. Like if he's doing it, she's not really gone.
Yeah. I guess my thing, just like that, it's like, it's not supernatural. So it's like, okay, all right, okay. You could see that like happening and like being the subject of an actual documentary. And honestly, that was so I'll say I like this a lot more than the first time I watched it. I thought the first time I watched it, I thought it was really boring, and I didn't remember fucking anything from this movie from the first time. I remembered like the basic plot, and that was it. So I liked it a lot more this time. And what I appreciated the most about it was actually like the structure and the pacing of it. I thought that felt the most like a documentary. Like how it just like naturally builds the story as it goes along in a really organic way that would happen like with a documentary, and the way that like new information is doled out felt very true to that, genre or format or whatever. Like you'll get those tangents where it's like, oh, also she was, by the way, the neighbor was in this video, and now we're going to talk about this weird thing with the kids, the family that she was babysitting for and stuff. And like that, like tangents like that feel very kind of like how documentaries work.
The hair on my arms is like raised right now. The reveal that you can see the dude's face in the corner, it was like, it was so unsettling to me, especially because it's like 2008 technology. I mean, the movie is like in 2005, so now we all have phones with cameras in our pockets that can produce like 4K footage. You can go to your local like Walmart or Meijer or wherever, and you can buy like home security cameras that are like 1080p, like 4K. You can, but it's like something about the graininess and the grittiness of that footage. Like, I feel like even when they zoom in, they do like the digital zoom on the neighbor's face in the corner. As the video is progressing, it kind of like distorts ever so slightly. And it's almost like you kind of get a frame by frame look at his face. And it's like even his facial features look almost demonic and creepy. Like he's got kind of one of those like big like Charlie Kirk ass noses. That's kind of what I thought he looked like for a second. Like he had like the hairline in the nose, and I was like, ew, our neighbor's Charlie Kirk. All gums.
Also sleeping with a teenager. Or is that well, maybe he does it too. I was thinking of Matt Gates though, but
oh yeah. they both have like they have ultrasound face.
Yeah, stuff like that is why this movie definitely benefits from a second watch where you already know to look out for it.
I rewound it, yeah.
Yeah, because like the first time you're watching it, you're focusing on what later comes to reveal as like the brother pretending to be her walking through a hallway. But then it's like, oh yeah, in the wide shot, you see the actual neighbor in the background trying to sneak in.
Yeah. And like, because when it revealed all that, I was like, come on, it's gotta be like,
it wasn't actually there.
Yeah, but then I rewound it every time. Like I waited till the end of the movie, but like I rewound it back to when we first saw like the images and the video, and I was like, holy shit, it was there the entire time. Even that picture, the picture of her standing along the fence that he like superimposed her in, I looked at it, and sure enough, she's sitting in the corner too. So I'm like, it was right there. If you were paying attention, it was right there.
Yeah, that gave me chills. Like when the first time I watched it, it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that is really cool. How it, like, it's fun to be like deceived, but also there's like the part in the back of your head where you're like, God damn, I'm so stupid. Son of a bitch, they did it again. It's like
catches you off. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll say it does catch you off guard because, like you were talking about earlier, it is revealed, oh, the brother is fabricating this stuff, so it seems like it's all explained away.
Yeah.
But like in each one of those instances, like, oh no, he was only doing X, Y, and Z, whereas we're actually seeing her somewhere else where he's not messing with her.
He was doing X, Y, and Z, but she's the letter after Z. No, I was gonna say it felt like, have you ever seen those, I don't know, posts on like Facebook or whatever, where it's like a list of like, like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And it's like, number 1, read every rule before doing a thing. And then it's like rule number 2, skip the even numbers. And then it's like, it knows how your brain works. So it's like, or there's the images where it's like, look down here, then look up here. Don't look this way. But it's like all the signs like guiding you to whereas like if you just looked at the thing as a whole, you would have gotten it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I don't know like, what those memes are called with that group.
It'll be like one of those things where like the first and last letter of the word are the same, but the middle letters are jumbled, but your brain will like, you can still make out what word, you can read it as a sentence, even though the letters are all jumbled. Or it's like if you're like taking a test and it's like, if you would have actually read all the way to if you looked at all the questions before you started the test, the last question would have been like, you don't have to do this test, just put your name on it. Oh yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, something more like that. Yeah.
I was not expecting a lot of twists and turns. Like I was expecting this just based on, like kind of what I knew about it. I was expecting this to just be sort of like a found footage movie. I didn't realize that there was like the mockumentary aspect to it. And about halfway through, when it was revealed that like the brother had like doctored all of the videos and images, I was like, oh, this is like A24 before A24, where it's like the real monster is trauma. I mean, I don't see that. I didn't like, mark that as like a negative thing, but it was just kind of funny to be like, we're currently in this era where like there's a lot of like A24 horror movies that are about like, just bubbling beneath the surface trauma or repression or like, that kind of thing. But I thought it was really effective, and I thought like the way that the family acted was like perfect. I was like kind of reading up about this movie, reading some other like people's analysis or like their thoughts about it. And like there's one part where the mom is talking, there's like the mom and the grandma, they're like talking about how they never felt that they could fully like open up and relate to like the grandma couldn't to the daughter, and then the daughter couldn't to Alice or something like that. Like they couldn't fully like open up. And I think even like the way that the family was acting, like if it still felt kind of cold and distant from each other. And I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I thought they were like really, and I was like, is this just like an accent thing? Kind of like what we were talking about when we did like What We Do in the Shadows. Like everybody was like so chill about everything.
Yeah. What would you do if you saw Ray today? Well, I hope he wouldn't be coming around the corner. I'd have to lay him. Yeah, I'd throttle him.
Yeah.
Like just no emotion,
throttle.
no like anger, just like.
How do you feel towards Brent now?
If he was around the corner, I'd probably throttle him.
And then like every time they talk to police, they're like the way that the police talked was exactly like the cops in What We Do in the Shadows.
That's fire hazard.
I mean, like they watched the video on her cell phone, and they're like, "Oh, you see that? Yeah, that's an exposed wire behind her on the ground. That's a fire hazard." Like that kind of shit.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the psychic.
Ray, I throttle him.
Well, no, Ray isn't the one he would throttle. He'd throttle.
Oh yeah, the old guy.
The neighbor. Their name was like Tennyson because they called it like the Tennyson video because that's what he was trying to break in and get.
Yes.
Wait.
So
no, the one who was breaking in to get the video was the one who was sleeping with the daughter.
Yeah, but that wasn't the psychic. Ray was the psychic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The names were okay.
Well, no, because like the reason I said Ray was also because Ray technically lied to them about not knowing Alice. Like that's another again, like you're talking about that pacing, that's like another good reveal is that Ray had actually met with Alice prior, and like she had explained that like she was having these dreams about her dying, and like she felt like death was coming to get her. And I think because like at one point it's like the family hasn't seen Ray in like 6 months because they felt betrayed that he hadn't mentioned that he knew Alice, and he was like, he's just patient confidentiality,
Yeah.
Her speaking to him really sets up the tone of the movie where she's like, I feel like something bad has already happened and like it's just on its way and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I know.
The way that they juxtapose that in the end too.
That's what I was
like,
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Like the mom sort of hypnotism, and like it's like again, it's like that familial, like kind of passing on those the trauma and like, or like the not even necessarily trauma, but just like keeping secrets and not opening up to each other. It's like even in their like hypnosis sessions, they go right past each other. Like they can't like connect in that way. Like she doesn't see her mom, or like her mom can't see her, and like she can't see her mom, or however she says that at the end. She's like, I go in the room and like Alice isn't there, and then Alice is like, I'm in my bed and I can see my mom, but like she can't see me, or something like that.
Well, I thought it was like supposed to be. I mean, it could be that as well. like what you're saying about the like disconnect or whatever. But I took it as like they're describing the exact, like they were both seeing the same moment, but Alice is a ghost. But Alice didn't realize that. And that's why like she's like, oh, my mom doesn't see me or anything, but I'm right there. And then the mom's like, oh, she's there. Like, I feel like she's there, but she's not seeing me or whatever. And I took that as like, that was like a moment that actually did happen after Alice died when her
I think that goes into the nature of the haunting, because it's not like a malevolent one. It's just Alice trying to provide closure for her family. Mm-hmm. So in her session, she's like seeing herself after she's passed, whereas the mom finally has her, like initially the mom is talking and she can see Alice, but they can't interact. But when the mom has the final session, she can't see Alice anymore, because at that point Alice has moved on because she's done what she needed to do to get them to know her.
Right.
I saw somebody, I don't know if it was on Letterboxd or Reddit or something, but they said that they interpreted the
guy was chasing his tail.
Yeah, he does that.
He's lightening the mood.
Yeah. Bring some levity to this. That's so. That's so great.
Simon. Yeah.
Simple Simon.
Simple Simon. That is what we call him. That they took the ending where you get the picture of the family in front of the window and she's still in there. As like she hadn't actually moved on, that they just couldn't see her anymore, and that like she's gonna be trapped in that house now because they like moved away. It was like a much more like bleak interpretation of the ending. I don't know. I like playing around with that idea, but I'm more like with like what the movie presents. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun if you're like want a darker ending, I guess.
Well, there were, and again, this is on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But there was like a theory that was proposed that Matthew killed her.
Is it, that's the brother?
Yeah, Maddie.
Maddie. Yeah.
Because, basically he was the only person that was with her when she disappeared / drowned. And then you kind of get these small vignettes of him like kind of filming her without her knowledge, or like being in her room, and you could chalk it up to just like siblings annoy each other type stuff. Like I've seen like TikToks before where it'll be like, what it was like growing up with an older brother, and it's like the girl sitting in her bed in her bedroom, and then the brother like walks in and looks at her and just like knocks something off the shelf, farts, shuts the light off, and then slams the door as he's walking out. Just like these random acts of just like, I don't know, I'm just here to annoy you, and then he just leaves.
Yeah,
you could kind of chalk it up to that. But like if you think about it with like Maddie being her killer in mind, it kind of adds this like sinister edge. And there's also the shit with like the bruises. Like it's not exactly after it happens. It's a few months. I think it's in like February. Like she drowns like the week of Christmas. Right. And then in February, they're like, and then Maddie had all these weird unexplained bruises all over his body that like just kind of came and went, and we don't know what happened. And it's like, maybe her manifestation of like being mad at him for doing that. Like maybe she didn't, she knew she was going to die, but she didn't think it was going to be from like her brother's hand. Maybe. I don't know. There's ways to interpret it.
Yeah, I forgot that was a thing that they never answer in the movie, right? It was his bruises. They never give an actual answer for that.
Yeah. No, I think that was just meant to be a red herring. In the video stuff, I think it's just meant to be like siblings messing with each other, and the reason they show so much of him and Alice because it's like about Alice.
Right.
Yeah. I could also see. Do you know? Do you remember like when, like in the timeline when he started, or when when he took that picture of her in
April.
Yeah.
okay, so it would have been after that. Okay.
It was like April 28th or something like that.
I think April 28th is the photo.
Or were there any of the videos before? I was gonna say as like another explanation for the bruises, where it could be her would be like if it was after he had like made some of those fabricated videos or whatever. Maybe she did that to be like, hey, you're distracting him from actually
Like,
me.
Yeah. And I like that. She's like, I'm trying to do something here, idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one of the big things that this movie made me think of, and I think it's like a fairly popular analysis. Maybe you got it too. This thing had Twin Peaks written all over it.
That's why their last name is Palmer.
Their last name is Palmer.
Yeah, I saw that.
She's dead, wrapped in plastic. It's not exactly the same scenario unless you kind of go along with the theory that the brother did it. Because I was like trying to place who all of these characters are in the Twin Peaks universe. And I was like, Ray is Dr. Jacoby.
Oh,
because like Laura talks to Dr. Jacoby and like has all these tapes of like their sessions. I was like, oh god, then who's Leland Palmer? I guess that might be Maddie. But it kind of reminded me of that in the sense that like Laura Palmer, if you watch like Fire Walk with Me, also had like this secret double life that she goes to like what the whatever lounge, I forget what like the brothel is like over in Canada, One-Eyed Jack's,
or
something like
right.
that.
Yeah,
and like it's just like Laura Palmer is this very like kind of
secretive,
typical American, like like all of Lynch's stuff, like that sort of suburban, but there's more underneath the surface, kind of like Blue Velvet. Like Laura Palmer on the surface is just like, she's just like a popular girl that everyone likes and gets along with everybody and doesn't really have any problems. And then you're like, she was doing what? Because then like with Alice, you find this tape and then it's like you find out that like her neighbors, the man and the wife were grooming her and then like acted on it. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that's progressive. It's both of them. It's not just the guy.
Ladies, you could be pedophiles too.
But yeah, on that note, when they were talking about she buried something at Lake Mungo, I was fully expecting to find out that she had like given herself an abortion.
I wondered. I did have that thought. I was like, there's going to be like a fetus buried out there.
That's fully what I was expecting. I was like, oh, it's a cell phone and a bracelet. That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And they just cut to like, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they just said the bracelet was just like like her favorite bracelet, right? There wasn't any other significance other than it was like just a important bracelet to her or something.
Yeah, it's like a keepsake. I don't know. It could be like, maybe a representation of like innocence lost. Yeah, because like making like a friendship bracelet kind of deal that's like it's like a thing you do at summer camp. Yeah, kid shit.
Yeah.
But when that sequence started and they were out at Lake Mungo and it was just like low res footage of like desert landscapes, I'm like, we're back. We made it. We're in the outwaters again.
I got you, bastards.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Chris wanted us to be out in the desert in the dark again.
It looks a lot better than the outwaters, so.
Even on like the Nokia 2005 grainy footage.
At least they know how to like aim a camera.
But yeah, that one scene is like the one traditional horror movie scare.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, and it's like, oh yeah, that's her drowned corpse that her dad identified. Like she came face to face with it like months beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still like, I don't know. I'm like, I get that like this is a documentary and it's like after, it's not like that you're getting their live reactions or whatever, but I like that it's like this thing that like after seeing that video and they're just like, yeah, and that was Alice. And they're just like, they're still just like,
she saw a ghost.
yeah.
Pretty freaky shit, if you ask me.
Yeah.
If I saw that ghost, I would have throttled it.
Yeah.
Get out of here, ghost.
Yeah, that was spooky. I like, that's another, I mean, that is, again, like I said, the more traditional horror scene, but it does still have, and I think what makes the scare more effective is because it has that same like tension buildup that is in every other like spooky setting scene in the movie. You know, there's just no jump scares, but they're, like I said, they're just the voiceovers and like the creepy like ambient music, and then the like the dark shots. It's just like in this one there is like a little bit of a jump scare, but it has that like, because you know you see it like walk up and then it freezes on the frame for like a minute straight, and they're just talking about it and then, you know, it's like it does that sort of thing.
As soon as like the playback resumes, it kind of lunges. But this is also, you know, everything else that we've seen of like the ghost sightings or the presence or whatever has sort of been like there's like a level of detachment to it where it's like this is a camera on a tripod in the corner, or like, you know, a photo taken in the backyard. Mm-hmm. This is like Alice has her phone on her and just like she's an active participant in it. So it's like, I think that also like it's not just like capturing an image, she's like there with it, and it, like, you know, it lunges at her. So like I think that makes it extra unsettling and effective, because it's like everything else we've seen so far has just been like essentially CCTV footage.
Yeah,
you know?
which kind of plays into like the other footage that her friend was taking like throughout the night, and you see her just obviously very on edge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like her walking like through the woods with like her lamp.
See, there's the fucking difference between this and the Outwaters is right there. It's like, yeah, it's really low quality, like 2000s era, like cell phone footage, but you can tell what the fuck you're supposed to be looking at and like what is happening. And it's like, yeah, you can see that she's like nervous and that she's bearing a thing. You understand that. You can
care about the characters.
Yeah. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, what this was really missing was one of her friends just like smothering blood on her titties or something.
Yeah. Another great movie that this gave me like vibes of was Megan is Missing.
Man.
Just because that's also like well, that is found footage, but it's like kind of documentary because there's like interviews in it and stuff, and just the whole like, you know, girl goes missing sort of thing. And there were moments, especially that stuff like at the lake, it kind of made me think of like some of the like the crummier like dimmer scenes, or like the ending section of Megan is Missing. You get those like, you know, like the ghost in Lake Mungo, you get like the creepy like shots of her like tied up or whatever. Remember the like the shock images that are in that one?
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it kind of I had visions of Megan is Missing here and there.
Yeah, this is a much more effective like where what was his name? What do we call him? The guy from Megan is Missing.
Jake is like Skater Boy Jake. Is that what you're talking about?
No, the director. Michael Goy.
Yeah.
Where like Michael Goy tried to be like shocking in just like the most disgusting way possible. It's like, this is how you can like tell, like even this is how you can like make something effective and deal with like sexual abuse and trauma without just like, I don't know, because like the scene in Megan is Missing where it's just like 10 minutes of like an uninterrupted like implied off-screen rape is just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about like the multiple scenes where it's like 15-year-olds talking about like hardcore sex acts for like extended periods of time.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would have
this
brought
is
this
like
movie up to a 10.
Yeah.
yeah. If Maddie talked about like, yeah, I like blowjobs, like, you know, or what didn't they reference something? They were talking about like
one of the things
Brad
they talk
Pitt
about.
in Seven or something like that, and Megan is missing, and it's like, I don't know if like kids that age would be talking about that kind of stuff.
It's something, yeah, it's something along those lines.
I think I'm at an 8. I actually liked this movie quite a bit. I think all of the scares were effective. There was like a Letterboxd review that I saw where someone was just like, it was like 1 star, and it's just like all of the scares are just zooming in on pictures or video footage. And I was like, I think you might be missing the point a little bit. Like if you're going into this for like a traditional like jump scare fest horror movie, like a thrill ride, I think you might be I think you might be disappointed. But I think as like an atmospheric, like I don't know, I feel like there's not a lot of like effective like mockumentary stuff, mockumentary found footage analog horror. Like this movie was kind of ahead of its time for something in 2008. Like it kind of ticked a lot of boxes that would become popular trends in movies like a decade plus later, you know. So I think it was ahead of its time in that way. But I think it's well acted. I think the family does a good job of, you know, being like a family that's grieving, but also like a family that's detached from each other and fragmented in that way, where it's like it makes sense that like Alice's deteriorating relationship with her family is the way that it is. Like it all feels very intentional, like the way that the family acts to like kind of bring that message home. And yeah, all the spooks are spooky. I thought it was very clever to like kind of reveal its hand early if you were like really paying attention and scanning the image. And I think it makes it more rewarding to like go back and be like, oh shit, it was there the entire time. So all that said, yeah, I'm on an 8. I like this quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think to add to that too is that like I think even if you were just super alert and you saw all of the, you know, it never tricked you and you saw all the ghosts the first time through, that would still be, it's not like it ruins the fun. I think you would still get something out of that. It'd be a different experience. I would like to talk to somebody who actually like,
if I saw the neighbor's face before the movie revealed that, I would have been like,
there's
what is
something
that?
else.
Who is that?
Yeah.
What is this guy doing here? That would have scared the shit out of me if I had noticed that.
Yeah.
Because once you know it's there, it's like you can't look away. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Oh. Ugh.
I settled on a 7 for it. Pretty much all we said. I think the horror for the most part is pretty effective. I like the documentary style. I think maybe because of because it being so true to documentary style, there is parts that are like a little there are like bits that are like less interesting to me or whatever, that like I'm less engaged in, even if I am like it, like I like the overall story. I think the key difference is like knowing that it is fiction. If like this was, you know, theoretically, if this was like a real documentary, when I watch a real documentary, I am interested more in those little things because they're real and these are like real people talking about these real experiences. But there are moments in this, because it's not real, where they're talking about tidbits where I'm like, okay, like I get why it's doing it. It's to make it feel, you know, it's for like the fidelity of like making it feel like a documentary and stuff. But those are kind of like the little like, and I don't know, I watched this like almost a week ago, so I can't really think of any, because it's here and there. It's not, you know, it's not like a major thing. I guess I'm trying to explain why it's not
like all like, are you
bit.
talking about like all the talking head like footage of like all of her friends that are just like, yeah, she was a pretty normal girl.
maybe, or just, I don't know. I'm just saying just some of their tangents, some of their little sidebars talking about some stuff about like talking about their family and stuff. And like I said, we're like, I get like the overall, I'm into the overall story and like where everything goes. I'm just, like I said, I'm just explaining why it's a 7, because it's like, you know, it's not overwhelming love, but I really liked it. And I will say my rating before this, because I had rated this on Letterboxd when I saw it before, it was a 4, so it went way up for me on a second viewing. Something I did notice when I was looking at the poster, one of the posters, it was for like the what was it, like it was like a really popular series around when this came out. It's like the After Dark Horror Fest. It was like a series of like DVDs where it was like extreme like horror movies or something. I don't remember. But anyways, the tagline for the movie is like, in 2008, Alice Palmer disappeared. But that wasn't the end of her story, but the movie clearly takes place.
In 2008, Alice Palmer died. ...
Well, isn't it
Her
2005?
nightmare didn't.
Her nightmare didn't. But that was why I brought it up, because
Yeah, that is true. It was in 2005. This poster says 2008.
Yeah,
2008 is just when it was released. Also, can you imagine if this was marketed like Blair Witch, where they just like drop it and don't acknowledge that it's fake at first?
Yeah. I bet you could get some people with
it on like A&E or like one of those channels.
Yeah, along the same lines. I'm sure there would be people who would buy into this stuff. People believe Megan is missing too, you know.
Yeah, right.
For me, well, first off, let me say this year I tried to bring movies that I thought you guys would actually like, so I'm relieved to hear it's getting a good score. like I really wanted you guys to like this one, so I was like, oh, please don't be like 3 or 4s.
Yeah.
For me, I'm giving it a 9. I love how different from the genre it is, how ahead of its time it is. Like you're talking about, like stuff we've seen, it would become stuff we're seeing a lot now in like artistic horror movies. I love how you can let yourself fall into believing it's a documentary of just like a family talking about like the worst day of their life and then what followed. Because one scene that got me is like when the dad was talking about leaving the porch light on. It's like, even though he knows he's dead, even though he knows she's dead and he ID'd her body, he's talking about like still leaving the light on, you know, just in case she comes back. It's like, oh, like that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
And then not treating the audience like dumb, like you were talking about, everything that is actually there. Like when you watch it for the first time, you're paying close attention, or you rewatch it, you can look and you can see the neighbor, or you can see her actually in the photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so even from the beginning, it's not trying to trick you. Everything is there for you to see. It just gives you enough where you're like, oh, okay, I know what happened. And then it just keeps revealing more stuff. You're like, oh, shit, okay, she isn't who I thought she was. She isn't who the family thought she was. Like, what else is there?
Mm-hmm.
And the pacing was very good. It was very intentional with what they were doing. I think, like the stuff you were talking about where it's uninteresting stuff, but it would make sense to have in an actual documentary. I kind of like that touch.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of flesh it out a bit.
Yeah.
And also right around a tight 90. I think this was like, 87 minutes thereabouts?
Yeah, both of them were. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good. Yeah. All right. And now, speaking of both of them, here's the other one. The second, always. The second movie we will be discussing is Late Night with the Devil from 2024, directed by Cameron and Colin Cairns. It is also a kind of found footage sort of thing. That is supposedly the recording of the last episode of I don't know if it to be fair, I don't know if it explicitly says that it's the last episode. It just says the Halloween night like taping for a sort of Tonight Show type of show hosted by Jack Delroy, who's like he's a competitor to Johnny Carson sort of thing, and it's their Halloween night, so they bring on a lot of like kind of paranormal guests, but then some real paranormal stuff starts happening, but it's all presented in like you're just watching an episode of a late night show. And and then like the behind the scenes footage and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, the intro says it's like the master tape from this night, including never before seen behind the scenes footage. And it's, the show Night Owls.
That's what it's called, Night Owls, yeah.
Yeah. In, I think, 1977, their Halloween episode after having been on the air for like 6 years and constantly losing to Carson in the ratings.
Yeah, that's right.
According to the IMDb trivia, the reason that they chose 1977 was because Halloween was on a Monday night, and that would have been the first day of Sweeps Week. Like, that's sort of like, this is like their make it or break it moment. So it's like Halloween was on a Monday in 77.
That's fun that they like, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cared to think of it like that or whatever. Yeah. So this one, has a kind of connection to Lake Mungo. I mean, I shouldn't say it has a connection. Just a strange one because the director of Lake Mungo has hardly done any movies. But he just decided to be a producer, and also one of the cult members. I saw he's like a credited cameo as one of the cult members. Too? Yeah.
Awesome.
Like in the when you see like the tapes of like the satanic group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Grove.
Yeah.
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
You should look up what Nixon had to say about Bohemian Grove, by the way. Chris knows.
Yeah.
It's you can't really say it on the pod, or you could maybe censor it. But do you know what Bohemian Grove is, right, TJ? I mean, the movie, it basically says what it is in the movie.
The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, it is the most goddamn thing you could ever imagine with that San Francisco crowd. Thankfully, I'm now the editor of both versions of this, so I know that I can censor that.
But what about when the master tape of this comes out?
Yeah.
Well,
then I'll be in hell, I guess.
Sometimes Richard Nixon is great. I think that's like it's so funny that was his. Like, he's like, I still go to it, but it's gay as hell. Those fruitcakes in San Francisco sacrificing children.
But yeah, it was some sort of like suspected like site for weird shit. I don't know. I know like vaguely like I don't know. Yeah.
Where the rich and powerful can play make believe.
Yeah, it's sort of like, it's like Bohemian Grove and like Skull and Bones.
You want to say that again?
Bohemian Grove and Skull and Bones
Bohemian
are like
Groove.
But yeah. They're like these two groups or organizations that like pretty much every president we've ever had has been a part of. Or maybe after you're president, you become a part of Bohemian Grove. But like I know because like Skull and Bones is like what, Yale? Is that where that's at?
Maybe.
Harvard.
I know that's
one
like
of
what
the
the Bushes were in, and yeah.
So it's just this.
No, there's a movie with Joshua Jackson on it.
But yeah, I know. Secret cabal of elite politicians, basically, that movers and shakers of the world that make shit happen.
Yeah. With their, I can't remember what their leader was named, but I just remember thinking it was a way less cool name than Anton LaVey.
Oh yeah, what was his name? I think it had like an apostrophe. It was like Daabka or something like that. Or
Dabo.
Dabo.
Diabo.
Sandor Dabo.
Yeah.
I like that a lot of these characters basically had real life counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't get it with Christu, but once the second guy came on, I was like, I get it.
Yeah. Well, Christu, I was like, that sounds really familiar to me because there was a magician named hold on, it's in here. Chriswell. There was a magician named Chriswell, and I'm pretty sure he's mentioned in the Amazing James Randi doc, which that is who Haig was.
Carmichael
Haig was very clearly like an amazing James Randi
Yeah.
like analog. Just
Yeah.
like all the way down to like, we'll cut you a check if you can prove that it's real.
Yeah. The other one I was because I was thinking of James Randi for Carmichael. I thought maybe Uri Geller for Christu, who was another one that Randy like went after a lot. Yeah. Who sued fucking Pokemon for Kadabra for stealing this thing.
But that makes no sense because Kadabra could actually bend spoons.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's stealing my bit.
It was God, it's so weird. It's so weird how that shit worked. Because he only sued, because this was the thing, because it's literally why they made the Pokemon breeder card, which is a trainer card that allows you to skip the middle evolution. It allows you to skip from basic to stage 2, so that you could skip from Abra to Alakazam, because they were prohibited for a time from printing Kadabra cards because of this lawsuit. And it was just
That's
Kadabra
insane.
because Kadabra has 1 spoon, Alakazam has 2 spoons, and I guess that made a difference because Uri Geller just has 1 spoon at a time. But yeah, it created a one of the like key trainer cards in the Pokemon TCG that's like still a pretty important like card in competitive play nowadays. Not as important, but
yeah, I feel like they even reference more of like James Randi's shit when because the way that he exposed that televangelist, God, I forget his name.
Yep, I can almost think of it. Yeah. Peter something.
It's like Earth to Petey, or Can You Hear Me, Peter? Something
Yeah,
like that.
that's
Can you
right.
hear me? Because the two women that kind of get that cold read, and they're like, your son is dead. Oh, he wants to let you know. They're like, oh, Teddy, his teddy bear, like he knows that he's safe. At one point, he says, oh, like, he's like, did you fill out any information before you came into the show? Because like that was one of the things. That's how like the televangelist got all that information, was because people filled out prayer requests. So that's how we knew. So I feel like that was even like a sly reference to like that thing that James Randi did.
And they also mentioned that his assistant was pretending to be just a normal person in the lobby, also just asking questions about stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And he also mentions Ed and Lorraine. I can't remember their last name, but like the famous
Warren.
Yeah, like the famous like
Yeah,
ghost
that's
hunters.
right.
And he's like, I was at the Amityville house and they refused to show.
Yeah, that's right.
His character is such a fun asshole.
Yeah. Criswell's the guy in Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's what I know him from. He's the guy who introduces it, and he does the outro.
That's right.
The one that good old Jeffrey Jones plays in Ed Wood.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Peter Popoff. There we go.
Petey Popoff, that's his name. Speaking of doing the intro, did you catch who did the intro narration of this movie? Like introducing
I saw his name in the credits, yeah. I couldn't.
Is Michael Ironside?
I couldn't tell at all from the actual voice. I was like, man, I didn't. Yeah, I was like trying to like picture him saying, but I just guess I haven't seen him in anything in a long time.
Starship Troopers, I guess, was the last thing that I saw him in.
I guess I meant, like,
wasn't he also the voice for Ultron?
No, that was James Spader.
Huh. This whole time I've thought it was Michael Ironside.
Oh.
No joke. Like,
no, Robert California.
Dude, I knew it. Sorry, I'm reading the IMDb trivia. When they showed the footage of the girls' cult getting burned down.
Yeah.
I just listened to a podcast series about Patty Hearst. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
I'm listening to the same series right now.
Yeah. The footage that they show of the cult dousing themselves in gasoline and setting the house on fire is actual footage from the Symbionese Liberation Army when they set the house on fire, when they had like a standoff with like the FBI or the LAPD or whoever.
Yeah,
but,
shoot. I forgot.
I was watching that. I was watching the movie and I was like, that looks really. That scenario seems really familiar, and then it's because it was like the SLA burning the house down. Yeah, that Patty Hearst series is wild.
Yeah, originally I thought it was a reference to probably like Waco.
Yeah,
I also thought about like Waco too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like burning house imagery, like weird shit like that.
Yeah.
From that time period.
Cool stuff that the FBI
awesome things.
CIA has done. Yeah, maybe it was when I was watching this, because I remember just talking to Clea about the Patty Hearst thing, and maybe it was when we were watching this or something else recently. I don't know.
But before we get too far gone, an important thing with Christu is at the very end, he seems to be getting a more intense reading where he's asking for like a mini and then like an unmarried man wearing a wedding ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I instantly was like, oh, well, he's his unmarried man because his wife's dead. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I do think it's interesting that the movie takes the stance that James Randi was full of shit.
Yeah, that is kind of, yeah.
Where it's like James Randi, I mean, I guess they both die, but he like actually
or
does like the, or does he? I don't know.
No, finish your thought.
But yeah, Christu, like you can obviously tell it's like real because like you see his eyes roll in the back of his head. And he's just like clearly, it's almost like he's panicked at the idea that it actually worked this time, because it's like that's kind of his whole shtick is like cold reading and just like kind of allowing like the subject to reveal information to you that you can use to like kind of fish information out of, to be like, oh yeah, your son's name. They're like, Edmund, and he's like, yes, Edmund. He's here with us now. Just kind of like that back and forth, where he's like genuinely afraid that like he actually like did a reading and is just like no, I gotta get out of here. This is terrible. I don't want to do this anymore. I just threw up some black shit like all over the place. This is bad.
Yeah.
And Haig is just like, oh yes, I've seen this before. They like to eat a bunch of stuff that they can throw up later. It's like
it's
classic
an old vaudeville trick.
Vaudeville trick is what he says. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said like, oh, he's all full of shit. But what I guess, in jumping ahead to the end, you could theorize that like maybe he wasn't. I mean, like was. Well, okay. I guess it's getting it. I'll have to kind of tangent into like one of my criticisms with the movie. But like, was this all just in Jack? What's his name? The main guy, the host?
Jack Delroy.
Jack Delroy. That was it. Like, was it all just in his head? Because like the ending, I guess I interpreted as like, he was just kind of crazy and he killed the people. like he just kind of snapped because his wife died and he was doing all this like weird satanic like culty stuff. And like maybe it could be theorized that like there wasn't anything weird going on at all and he was just nuts. Because, and this is like one of my criticisms or just kind of, I don't know, gripes or whatever, is that like it's presented, it doesn't do what I appreciated Lake Mungo so much for. How I said that feels so much like a documentary. It doesn't like betray its format at all. I felt like this really betrayed its format a few times.
Mainly in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, like that's on the master tape. These weird like visions that this guy was having, or like all these weird cuts, and like it felt so out of the movie. It's that, and then also the behind the scenes footage. I'm like, nobody would get to like record this stuff. There's no like at no point does anybody. They're having all these like discussions that would probably be pretty like tightly wrapped. Like they're discussing like the finances of the show and that stuff, and supposedly in the world of what we're supposed to believe of the show is that this is behind the scenes footage. So they have one of the crew members following them around with the camera, and at no point anybody's like, turn that camera off, or like, we need to get away from this. They're just like, there's no acknowledgement of it. So every time it did the behind the scenes footage, it like took me out of the movie. It was almost like I was just on commercial break, like how the show was supposed to be. And every time it went back into the show, I was back into it.
I did appreciate that the behind the scenes stuff wasn't black and white.
Yeah,
just a way to like break it up.
Yeah.
I think what they could have done to maybe make that seem more like real and authentic to the style of the movie is like just have it be one of the studio cams from a distance, just like kind of,
and they're still mic'd up. So
yeah. So it's like you can still hear them, but it's not like that. There's no like shot compositions. It's not like shot, reverse shot, over the shoulder conversations. That feels too much like a movie would feel. Like if it was just like one of the like camera 1, 2, or 3 just kind of happens to catch these conversations, and you can kind of see them off in the distance, but you kind of hear them having these. So it doesn't feel like it's just like because like the things that they're talking about, it's like they're talking about like oh man, this is like really freaky shit. Like we got the devil in here. And then just like, what is there? Just like a guy over his shoulder with a camera being like, yeah, no, great. This is great. Keep going.
Yeah.
They're like, get out of here, dude.
See,
it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
To the point where like, I think I actually would have preferred it if they just didn't acknowledge, because they say at the beginning, like, this was the master tape, including behind the scenes footage. I would have almost preferred if they'd have just said it's the master tape, and then like, they don't say all of the behind the scenes, the stuff that happens during the commercial breaks, just switch to like normal movie format. Like I would almost prefer that they just don't acknowledge like what it is, just break from the found footage format for a moment. It would have seemed less weird to me, I think. Because I would have been like, oh yeah, we're seeing this because now we are now omnipotent movie watchers. It's a lot less, or it's a lot more, or it doesn't take me out as much as like
it's easier to swallow.
Yeah. But then, of course, even more so, the ending with all the visions and stuff was like
the weird ass like 2001: A Space Odyssey ending.
Yeah, how does this fit into like which cameras in the studio are picking up these shots and everything?
Yeah, everyone else
stage
runs
manager
away.
Is still there, like switching cameras to get all these different shots.
Yeah,
because here's the thing: if that is the master tape, there's no way he's serving any jail time.
I guess so. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. If that is what
it's definitive proof that ghosts exist.
Yeah. According to James Randi, Carmichael.
All that stuff out of the way, though, I'm really glad that David Dastmalchian got like a leading role in the movie, because I do think he's pretty great in this.
Yeah, I do too. I really like that guy. Yeah. Yeah, he's a lot of fun in like everything he like pops up in. He's fun to watch. And yeah, like I'll say, like behind this, all that stuff being weird. Like I said, every time we were watching the show itself, I really like that, and I like the committal to the 70s aesthetic and all of that. Like all that stuff was really good. So it was like an on-off switch, like every time. And like, it's not like I wasn't like paying attention, because I mean, that was still kind of like you were getting exposition or context for stuff that was going on, of course. But it was just, like I said, took me out of it. But I was a lot more into the show itself. And yeah, all that stuff was fun.
Yeah. So we've talked about his first two guests, which would be Christou and Carmichael Haig, and we have to mention that Christou, after he vomits, they're saying he's getting treated backstage, and then like when he comes back from commercial, you hear sirens, and you're like, oh, he's being taken to the hospital. And then like he brings out like the featured guest, which is, wrote her name down and immediately lost it.
Lily.
Well, I was talking about Dr. June. Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
June, and then her patient Lily, who was rescued from the cult that they show the footage of the burning house from.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked The girl was like a little over the top, but I still kind of liked her performance. I like that she knew every
Just, like-
camera she was always staring at the active camera.
Mhm.
Yes.
That was a
Ugh.
fun touch. Just straight eye contact, no blinking.
Yeah. Whereas like unless you're like the host, like, you know, there's no, I wouldn't think. I mean, maybe there was back then, I don't know. There would be no like visual cue to like a guest to like know which camera is active, right?
I think they probably had like a light on the camera. I was like, hey, focus on this one. But real quick,
Oh, go ahead.
when I first saw this movie in theaters, and when the previews were starting, I was the only one in the theater. I was like, I'm gonna have my own private showing. And then as it got closer, like maybe cumulatively there were a dozen of us, but it was still like a very small showing when I saw it in theaters. But I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Was it? Does this movie actually have 15 different production companies, or was that a bit that they were doing?
I was wondering that after a while. Holy shit. I actually wrote down like that was at least like 1% of the runtime was just production companies. That was insane.
Yeah, I saw some people's like letterbox reviews where like they said that they saw this in theaters and like people got mad that they kept laughing, but like they were laughing at just like one after another, just all of, and it's like yeah, I was like, is this part of the bit? Like, is this part of
At
like
a point,
that sort
it
of?
feels like it, yeah.
I was like, there's no way these are all real production companies.
I think I mean, I feel like if they were fake, they would have made them feel more like retro, right? I feel like they all felt like
true.
modern production logos, but like if they'd have started with like the actual ones, the more modern ones, and then like it kind of went into like, you know, 70s era like production logos, and okay, all right, I see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that was weird. Glad I wasn't the only one that like noticed that, because yeah, that was crazy.
I liked the sidekick.
Yep. I was literally just gonna, that was my next thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought he kind of looked like and had some of the mannerisms of like Paul F. Tompkins. That's who I thought of. Like if Paul F. Tompkins was like wearing like a bald cap. But yeah, his shit was great. I like that he's kind of like the you know, God, who I'm trying to think of like late night equivalents, like, you know, the guy that like the bald
like,
keyboard player that like Letterman always kind of riffs off of, or like
I think his name's Paul, maybe.
Paul
or how
Schrader,
Conan
not
kind of
Paul Schrader.
has Andy Richter, just kind of like the hapless sidekick who's there to just get shit thrown their way.
That was
Yeah.
That was one of my notes. Was like, I out of like partway into the movie, I was just thinking like, what if this was just Conan and Andy like playing these parts?
God, that would have been such a good casting of Conan. Like Conan would have destroyed this movie.
Yeah.
He would've made it so good. Yeah, all those like, because every once in a while, like old Conan bits will like trend on Twitter, and I'll just watch them all, and they are so good. Like all the ones where like Andy Richter will just get shot by the dog.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Just like some of those like late 90s, early 2000s Conan bits, because like they were kind of in a similar situation that Jack Delroy is in, where it's like he's not Leno, he's not Letterman, he's not one of the big dogs, so they can get kind of experimental and weird and like, you know, maybe try to boost their own ratings, but it's just like, yeah, why not? We'll have this guy on here. He's a magician, I guess. Like, who cares?
That's basically Conan the entire time he was on TV. I feel like it's like finally, now that he ended his show on TBS and he's just kind of doing his own thing now, is now people are really being like, yeah, Conan is not every. I mean, Conan's always had his fans. I've been a fan of his since I was a little kid, but like, I feel like he's finally being more widely recognized, whereas like the entire time he was on, yeah exactly.
Yeah, like there's not really any like famous Jay Leno clips that go around, right? Like it's like Conan, I don't want to say like reinvented the format, but like he took bigger risks, and he had like a different comedic sensibilities, and like a lot of that shit is like much more timeless than just like Jay Leno reading funny headlines.
Yeah.
And talking about Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah. Right. I think that's what Jay Leno's remembered for, just like not his jokes, but like the stuff that was going on when he was doing the show was big moments in the country or whatever. His sidekick reminded me of Mel Rodriguez was who I was thinking of. The guy who plays Marco in Better Call Saul.
Yes.
That's what he made me think of.
Yes. He has that like bald Chicago guy look to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a very like, I'm watching the Bears later.
Yeah. And when another, I guess I don't know. We did watch it relatively recently, and I do love the movie. So maybe I just really had it on my mind with both of these because I thought of What We Do in the Shadows again after he like does like the trick where he like has like the worms hypnosis. In them. Yeah, and it's like, please have some boschetti.
Boschetti.
Yeah. That was pretty cool though. Anytime there was like which was rare, but like I like the visual effects and like the anytime it did get like trippy and weird, like when his head was like bulging out and stuff, that was cool. And then they undid it. I was like, oh no, I was really hoping that like it just happened and that movie was just like off the rails from that point on. I would like see how crazy it could have gotten from there.
Kind of. Go ahead.
Well, even June's session with Lily, like when Lily is in the hypnotic state and whichever creature is possessing her, Mr. Wriggles, she calls it, like comes to the forefront. Like you see like her like facial changes and like her skin tears.
Yeah.
And I did like the dual layering of the voice, where like you can still hear Lily's voice underneath.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed to take a page out of like The Exorcist type thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think if you really, I don't know, you could say this movie's very derivative of a lot of other things of like from that era, but I don't necessarily think that's like a negative thing. Like especially because, like I don't know, I think it wears it on its sleeve, where it's not really trying to like, it's not trying to trick you or pretend like it's anything revolutionary. Like, this is James Randi. This is like Uri Geller. This is The Exorcist. We're talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren. I feel like they even referenced, there were like a few other like very prominent references of like people or things from the 70s that were like happening at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that.
I mean, even, the whole basic thing with like the satanic cult and all that stuff, which I will say too was like, I like the instant, because it like starts with the like backstory. It's like a little like news segment on Jack Delroy. It's like he was the top of his game, and then he was a power couple, and then his wife died, and there's a suspected cult thing going on. I'm like, oh, he went there to try to like save his wife or something, or like save his show, or something along those lines. And or no, I think I had thought like exactly what it was, that like he wanted to become number one on TV, and so that's why his wife got cancer.
He was going to do anything to make it big.
Yeah.
Before getting to the ending, I want to say, like, after June's session where Lily is levitating, it's like, oh, there's no way there could be any doubt. That's when Carmichael is like, oh, well, check this shit out.
Yeah.
And he does, like, the hypnosis not just on Gus, but on everyone in the audience and presumably people at home watching it.
Yeah.
And I love his fake out where he's, like, trying to get Gus to awake and snapping his fingers.
Yeah.
And then it's like, he's like, oh, yeah, why don't you have your shirt on? That's weird.
Yeah.
And Gus just being like, the true victim of all of this is him.
Yeah, he really gets a bum deal. Where it's like, because like you were talking about near the end, where it kind of pulls out and he's stabbed Lily and everyone else is dead around him.
Yeah,
I mean, I do think that it did happen that way, because Gus's head is still completely turned around, and like the other guy is like
and Carmichael
burned
is
a
still
lot.
burned.
Yeah, and like her throat is slit. It's like I don't know. I don't think he would have been able to do that all on his own. So I do think that like the demonic stuff actually did happen, but it is an interesting interpretation though that he just like went completely apeshit and just like brutally murdered everyone.
Yeah, I took the ending as him trying to snap himself out of it, not because he did do it, because he's hoping it's still not what he's seeing and that he's just having a trick played on him.
Yeah.
That's why I thought that's why I thought it was it was presenting you with the whole that reveal of like that he basically, you know, leveraged his wife's life with his show, and like I kind of thought that was it all, like bubbling, like his guilt kind of bubbling to the surface, and that like he snapped and like killed those few people or whatever, and then everybody else ran away or whatever. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's like how fast would he have to move to like do all that? But I don't know. That's how I liked it in my head. That's my little.
I think my favorite moment of like the ending breakdown is when the demon emerges from Lily and Carmichael tries to offer it the check. Because he's like, well, undeniable proof. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's funny. Doesn't her like head like split open? She kind of looked like one of the zombies from The Last of Us.
Yeah,
yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of that creature design. They took a swing at it.
Yeah.
I do think it was somewhat of a practical effect though, with her head split like that. Because I know there was like a lot of like the sort of like digital like electricity and shit that was kind of coursing through it, where like she kind of had like the demon eyes, and it was kind of like blue and electrical and all that shit. I did see some pictures of like behind the scenes stuff, and I do believe that they made like a split head prosthetic for her. So I do think that that's a practical effect.
That'd be awesome, because I bought this Blu-ray, so I'm interested to watch the behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because I think one of the features is like a version with David S. Malkian on commentary.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I listened to they interviewed him on last podcast on the left a while back, and he was like talking about his, you know, just his story. Like his first role is The Dark Knight.
Was his first role,
like,
really?
Yeah, on Wikipedia, if you look, that's like the first thing that he was in. Well, in film and TV.
Wow.
His first year on TV, he had a guest role on ER.
Oh.
And then he was in The Dark Knight, and then ever since then, he's been in, you know.
Of like him filling the niche, he's just like a creepy side guy. So it's kind of weird to see him in this role where he's supposed to be the straight man as the host.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. A lot of times he doesn't play just like even I'm thinking of like him in the Suicide Squad, where he's like one of
polka
the
dot
like
man?
heroes, but he's like deeply like fucked up and disturbed in that movie.
Yeah.
And like the whole time he like wants to die the whole time there. Yeah, man, I remember him in The Dark Knight. Like he stands out in that movie. So that's wild that that's his first one. I think his name is Thomas Shift in it. Something Shift.
But much like Conan O'Brien, I'm glad that people are starting to appreciate him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we didn't really talk about like the AI.
Yeah, I was going to bring
thought
it up
about
in my
that,
score section.
Oh, okay. It's just
whatever.
it's the like we'll be right back type.
Yeah, like the commercial break transitions and all that.
Yeah.
Which is
it's weird.
It's a weird choice because they did like again at the beginning when they're doing the like the fake documentary, like kind of giving you a brief history of night owls and Jack. Like you see like these black and white photos of him in like the back of a taxi cab, him and his wife out. Like it looks like they did, you know, they put time and effort to making like fake Newsweek covers or like, you know, magazine covers of the time with him on there. It's like,
which I always
you-
really
you-
appreciate. I hate
Yeah.
when you see like clearly photoshopped photos of like family members in movies. So they did a really good job with that in Lake Mungo too, like the home videos
Yeah.
and pictures and stuff.
Yeah. So it was just like, why would you don't really need, why would you use AI for this when like you clearly have graphic designers and like artists that can like make your shit.
Yeah, and it's like
Who's that kitty?
they don't even seem that like it wouldn't even seem that difficult to just like
No.
make one of those. Like I could make that in like basic like Photoshop, you know.
Yeah.
Just give
Yeah.
me
Definitely
some
a
like
weird
yellow pale color palette.
Yeah.
And some like, you know, rounded font, you know. Give me 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. I think it would have been cool to like play along with the like the 1970s late night TV show aesthetic if they had produced some like fake commercials for products at the time. I
Yeah,
always
sure,
love
yeah.
when it's just, you know, like some sort of, new miracle, some new supplement or like a new lunch. I don't know when Lunchables came out or like that. Some sort of like product in the 70s that's like something stupid, but they could have made like a really like over the top cheesy commercial for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I don't know, the aesthetic of this movie, I although it is creepy and like analog horror in general does creep me out, there is something of like a warm blanket effect that it has on me where it's like there's something comforting to me of like sitting in your living room at like 3 a.m. and there's like an old tube TV and it's just like playing like Adult Swim content or like just weird infomercials at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of unnerving and creepy, but also like it gives me like this sense of like comfort. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like nostalgia or what, but like like the 3x4 formatting, like the kind of like that 1970s like 480p aesthetic where it's not like great looking, but it's, I don't know, something about it. I really dig it, and I think that's why I like analog horror so much. Like Local 58 or like I know there's like YouTube channels you can go to that will play like the Weather Channel from like even the early 2000s. It'll play like that sort of tape hiss, the Weather Channel with like smooth jazz, and you can just see like, oh, Miami in August of 2002, it's 85 degrees. Like that, something about that I really love.
David Lynch weather update type stuff.
Yeah.
I think that ties into what you were talking about, TJ, with like when they're like on air, like it really sucks you into it, and that does feel genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think like he said, like if it I think what you could have done, well, shit. I just like I had this thought in my head and I realized I'm just thinking of fucking post-mortem. But I was thinking like if you're going to use AI, use it in a way to where like, the first commercial break, you get some normal commercials, but then by the end of the movie, it's weird, distorted AI type shit commercials, and it just gets like weirder and weirder.
Dubbed over their compound burning.
Yeah, something. Yeah, like intermingling with the show itself. But that is like exactly post-mortem, except I guess we can use AI.
But one thing I will point out is that throughout the movie, and especially during the back scene segments, you see flashes of his wife on the screens.
I
didn't catch that. His wife.
A lot of the backstage segments, and even one of the earlier
the BTS
ones.
stuff.
No, like like the behind the scenes footage, you'll see her on like a flash on TV screen for a second or in a mirror.
Oh, really?
There's one point where even on like the live feed, you see her like with him for a split second before they do the rewind thing.
So like a Fight Club, like with Tyler Durden, like
somewhat
the penis.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
but yeah. In the same vein, this is a movie that you watch a second time knowing to look out for stuff, and it's like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, because there were a few instances when Lily would like look into the cameras where it would jitter and kind of jump, and you'd kind of get like like that. I mean, that's like the analog horror shit of just like, you know, a scan line that kind of repeats, and then the old TVs, like, you know, it's like your antenna's acting up, and you kind of have a bad signal, and it's a little jumpy. I'm pretty sure there's one instance where like as Lily's like looking, like it jumps, and you can even see his wife's face like superimposed on like the back of her head.
Yeah, there is,
like,
and that's the same one where they do the frame by frame breakdown, and that breakdown shows her full body behind him. Whereas if you're watching it yourself, you see her on Lily.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's got some good. That was probably the creepiest part of the movie for me. The like slow. I don't know. I love the like slow build ups for you. Like, you know, there's gonna be a little, and it wasn't even like a big like jump scare. I don't think there was like a big like noise or anything with it. But it's like that's okay. We're looking for something. Where's the thing? When are you gonna see it?
I'm gonna give this one an 8. I really liked watching it. I had a good time watching it. I'm not a fan of them using AI even for something small. But overall, I like seeing David S. Malkin getting a leading role. I like how they play through the talk show format, where even with like the commercial break stuff, Gus is trying to do crowd work to like, oh yeah, this guy pukes his guts out. I'm gonna make a joke about like Pepto-Bismol, this, that, and the other.
Yeah. I went a little lower. I went with a 6 for this one. I love the committal to the bit when you're like in the show. I liked David S. Malkin and like all the everybody's characters. Like I like the references to the real life people, like James Randi and all that and stuff. But like I said, like the whole thing with like the cult and stuff, and I thought a lot of that stuff was like pretty predictable, so the ending didn't really like do a whole bunch for me. It's like to where I just kind of wish that there was like a little bit more to that, where it started like freaking out and getting all weird. But it was a good time. I enjoyed the experience. I could easily like watch this one again. It even though I didn't like love it, it feels like an easy watch that you can just kind of like throw on. It's kind of like one of those, you know. So yeah, it's fun. So 6.
Sweet. I'm right in the middle. I'm at a 7 with this one. I did like a lot of it. I liked all the different references to like 70s culture and people, the Warrens, James Randi. I guess on the IMDb trivia that he was also like kind of a Orson Welles type character, like with his beard, and I guess kind of the way that he carried himself, his kind of booming voice.
See that?
Because I think Orson Welles was also like kind of a late night fixture, and he would just kind of come on there and just like talk about shit. Yeah.
I get so many like Dick Cavett clips with Orson Welles.
Yeah. And I think everybody in this is pretty great. David S. Malkin as a lead is awesome. I love weird guys. Polka Dot Man. He's in Twin Peaks: The Return, which of course him and the other guy. I always get him and the other guy messed up. The guy from Mulholland Drive. Oh, he was also in Standoff at Sparrow Creek.
Really thick eyebrows too.
Yes.
I know that guy's name, but
they're just like, they're two guys that like whenever they pop up, I'm like, yes, I love this guy. I'm glad he's here. The AI stuff is weird, especially like because of the whole strike that was happening, and like I keep seeing like there was I don't know if you guys saw this. I know you're not on Twitter, TJ, but someone pieced together like I made this Star Wars fight completely with AI, and it's like Darth Maul and Darth Vader fighting with lightsabers, and but it's like if you play with audio, all it is them just going like, and it looks so bad. Like I don't think it'll ever get to that point where it's like you can make a believable movie, and like people will not think that it's uncanny and weird. So I don't know. Apparently they premiered this at South by Southwest, and the AI like "We'll be right back" stuff wasn't in the movie. So like I don't know why they put it in. You didn't have to do that.
That makes sense to me. That because we were saying like how low effort it would be to like actually, put those in there, like it wouldn't take that much work. It makes sense that it was like a last second addition.
Yeah, it's just like, because it's a good like kind of spooky season movie. You could easily slip it into your rotation like every fall. It's just a weird thing to like kind of shoot yourself in the foot over like these little "We'll be right back" title cards. But other than that, I had a pretty good time. It was, fairly predictable, and there's kind of some weirdness with like the behind the scenes stuff. Like, why does it look that good? It shouldn't look that good. Like, kind of, both of these movies with Lake Mungo and Late Night with the Devil, I like that they're both like kind of plays on found footage analog horror. And I think that's a really good pairing, bringing both of those in. So yeah, I'm at a 7 with this one. It was entertaining. It was fun. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, much better than last year, Chris.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, because again, this year I tried to pick movies that I like, and I was like, God, I hope you like it. Please like it.
So next year it's gonna be really bad.
Yeah, that's what, you got to alternate every year. Yeah. Let's see. What? That's what he does. He hangs out for a little bit. He likes being held for a little bit, and then he jumps down and he yells at me again until I pick him back up.
That's just cats.
It's just cats.
They're weird little guys.
But yeah, for both these movies, watch them.
Yeah.
Understand what you're looking for, then watch them again.
Yeah.
They both have pretty good replayability, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do love in movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, rewatch.
It's like the ability to just go back and look for something fresh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Next week's movie
is.
Did you tell me your horror pick? I don't think I know this.
No, I didn't. I would, because I remember I told you last time we talked, I was still working on my Hooptober list, and I was like, I have some that I either want to put in that or that I want to recommend for the show. And I did settle on, so how the weeks are working out this time in the recommendations. I'm going to have this week, Nick has one next week, I have one the week after, and then Nick picked for the dud week. So I decided to do a classic and then just like a curiosity. I'll say that for me, like a lesser known one. That, and I'm gonna go with the classic first. So I'm gonna go with speaking of tight 90. This is two of those, so it's a long one. From 1964, directed by Masaki Kobayashi. Kwaidan is what I want to watch. Kwaidan.
Okay.
Which means ghost story. One that I've been meaning to get to for a long time. And I think when I was making my Hooptober list, I watched trailers for some that I was stuck on, and I watched a trailer for this, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like totally my shit. Like the aesthetic and look of it and stuff. And yeah, this is a director that I've been meaning to check out. He's there's a few like Kurosawa contemporaries that I need to get on. Google says 2 hours, but it's 3 hours. Just to be clear, make sure you give yourself that time.
Wikipedia says 182 minutes. So.
Yeah. But yeah. It's watch it before the next episode if you don't want to be spoiled for Kwaidan. These episodes come out on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all that said, damn it, I had one for this too. And
thank you for letting me into your homes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Goodbye. Some Australian meme Whatever. I give up.
Hope I don't have to throttle you.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about
yeah.
I was thinking of doing that with him, but he calmed down.
Just the ragdoll at which you pick him. He's like, oh, okay.
But he's got like the Frankenstein arms.
Yeah. And as always, I have a check for $500,000 if you can do some freaky shit and make it real. If you want to, pull a big ass worm out of your eye. So I got that check right over here, and I'm I'm Nick, and with us today,
still your double feature creature.
Nice.
I'm Chris. Don't look for me.
Good call.